start the Sutta discussion. Today, I put forward a topic than a discourse into our discussion. The topic we discussed today is Nibbāna in this very life. I hope to quote some discourses to get the Buddha's own words about the Nibbāna during this discussion. So that the discussion would be based on particular discourses, and the intention of discussing about Nibbāna is to understand the goal of our practice. We have been discussing so many discourses to formulate our practice or to sharp our practice to speed up our journey into Nirvana. I thought that it is better if we could discuss some interpretation on Nibbāna, some suttas on Nibbāna, then we can understand what it is. Okay, for the discussion I have some points at the very beginning, so I'm going to cover as much as I can. What is Nibbāna or Nirvana, and also we would cover who can attain Nibbāna. Some people say that it is only for human beings. Human existence is the best place to get into Nirvana, while divine world and Brahma realm are places where sensual pleasure is enjoyed very much. But who can attain Nibbāna? We can discuss that. As you know, the Nibbāna or Nirvana is the key aspect of the Buddha's teaching. It's called Samam Bonam of Buddha's teaching. So how it become the goal of Nirvana? Can we make the Nirvana end of our practice? So how can we go into Nirvana? Should be thoroughly discussed and understood. So the one of the very important thing in this topic is to know about the Buddha's journey into Nirvana. So that's the perfect example of someone attainments to Nirvana that we can follow. So many discourses in the Tripitaka cover this aspect, how the Buddha attained to Nirvana, because he is the only one who did it perfectly. All the Arahants did after him with his advice. So we are in that category, but it is better for us to know how the Buddha attained to Nirvana. I have given in this presentation some sutta quotations, and it will help us to understand that this is something possible for us. So if we understand who we are and what we are, and then on the other side we have the understanding of suffering and happiness, and then we know what has to be done. With these knowledges, we could be able to say that it is a possible task. So that's what we want to, of course, understand very well. And then things to be done for attaining Nibbāna. It is very beautiful when we discuss about Nibbāna, but it's not easy for us to get into Nirvana. The things we have to do are so much, so that we need to go one by one, and so that's what we discussed with the last point. By the way, what is Nirvana? I think, in my view, this is the most undiscovered concept in Buddha's teaching. Of course, for those Arahants and other enlightened beings, it is their own experience. But compared to other concepts in the teaching, this is the most difficult one. Why? And Why it is difficult? We are not in that state yet. Sometimes people experience different mentalities by practicing moral principles, by doing other skillful deeds. But nirvanic experiences are very deep, and it cannot be achieved through just mere wishing and saying and other method of practicing. We have to deal with the negative emotions, akusala. Then only we could at least experience the glimpse of Nibbāna. So this topic called Nibbāna in this very life is something not achievable for many Buddhists. No need to talk about the other average people. Even Buddhists could not comprehend this topic very much, because it is we who go to understand the concept. When we say that I understand Nibbāna, it seems to me that that very person does not understand Nibbāna, because with notion called I, you cannot understand the concept Nirvana fully. But you may have some knowledge about it. You know what Nirvana is, you know who attains to it, you may know what happens to the person when they attain to Nirvanic states. You have that kind of knowledges, but Nirvana is only an experience. So this is why I said at the beginning that this is one of the topics that many people could not get into. But if we have the right way of thinking to the point of the Dhamma, we can taste it into a certain extent. Let's see how we can taste the Nirvana before we go into Nirvana. Okay. Here you have some important explanations to the word Nirvana or Nibbāna. Nibbāna is the Pali word. Nirvana could be Sanskrit as well as Sinhalese. So both words have become English terms now. When it comes to the Buddhist teaching, we use both interchangeably. The Pali word Nibbāna is form of Ni and Vana. It's a combination of two words. Ni is a negative particles, and Vana means lusting or craving. So Ni is the negative connotations, no, none. Vana means craving, lust. So Nibbāna means absence of craving, absence of lust, absence of all kinds of defilement is called Nirvana. It is called Nibbāna in that it is a departure from the craving, which is called Vana, lusting. Literally, Nibbāna means non-attachment. So there is another very good definition there. Nibbāna is also explained as the extinction of the fire of lust, lobha, hatred, dosa, and delusion, moha. Which is very simple, right? We know what lobha, dosa, and moha. They are the root causes of all kinds of suffering. Lobha, dosa, moha are the roots. Roots of a tree is not visible. They are under the soil, under the ground. So it's not easy to take them out. Likewise, the causes of unwholesomeness are underlying in human mind. Therefore, one is not able to take them out with basic practices. So Nirvana, when one comes into Nirvana, that state, he or she take the lobha, dosa, moha, or lust or greed or hatred or delusion or ignorance completely out of his mind. So that's Nirvana. In the first couple of minutes, I'm giving you some definitions and the way how the Buddha and the other scholars, including monks at the Buddha's time, explain the Nibbāna. That would be very good for us to have some better idea about Nirvana. Where there is no akusala, there is no selfishness. Where there is no selfishness, there is no evil. Where there is no evil, there is no dukkha. Our vision becomes straightened, as Buddhists put it, and our thoughts are no longer motivated by self-interest. We are freed from dukkha and experience supreme bliss. This is Nibbāna. So this is another definition given. Where there is no akusala, there is no selfishness. What do you mean by akusala? Anything unskillful, right? Anything geared by greed, hatred, and ignorance are called akusala. When akusala exists with our words, with our actions, with our thoughts, selfishness is there. We tend to develop the notion called I in a very subtle way. When there is selfishness, there is evil. So I'm telling the other way around. When there is akusala, there is selfishness. When there is selfishness, there are evil things happen. When there are evil things happen, there is dukkha. Because dukkha is a result of evil actions, wrong perception, and misguided thought, and so forth. We can explain it in many ways, but we know what we are telling now. However, if one is able to stop akusala, then you are going to stop all the other respective unwholesome stages, such as selfishness, evil state of your mind. Then there is no dukkha at all. So our vision become straight and strong. As a result of our wholesome vision, we are going to have a moment that we experience a bliss and peace. That's called nirvana. It is the state that every Buddhist hopes to achieve, of course. Even you come to Sutta study class thinking that this class would support us to get into some practices we have been doing. I know that everybody has their own passions and way of going into peace and happiness. So anything you do to get into nirvana is bringing you some sort of happiness. So your effort in coming to this class and doing a similar thing is to slowly clear your path to nirvana. It is something that cannot be described, of course. If I ask you to describe how happy you are, especially when you are happy, you may say, it's Bhante, it's so nice, it's so pleasant. You may try to explain your happiness in such a way, and after that, Bhante, I cannot explain it. Even a happy and peaceful state, because of sensory experiences, could not explain well. The language is so poor and limited to explain the bliss of Nibbāna. And a lot of people went wrong in explaining the Nibbāna without getting into it. Anything else except Nirvana could be explained by the language, but not Nirvana, because it is beyond normal human conditions. Or almost all the humans and other living beings in the universe, except those arahants and so forth, maintain their life on six senses. The world for them is the six senses. Anything out of these six senses are not achievable, are not discernible. So we all human beings rely on whatever we see, hear, sense and so forth. So nirvana could not be tested through these six senses. It is beyond sensory experience. It is not a place. A lot of Buddhists from traditional Buddhist culture mistakenly believe that nirvana is a place of living. Why this notion came into being? Because theistic religion strongly believe that the good practices of us bring us to the God. It's another birth. United with the God is another birth. But the main purpose of the path practice that leads to Nibbāna is to end the birth. So human beings who live with all these material and immaterial fantasies expect to exist right now, and also they wish to be in the future maintaining their identity. So they cannot understand this state called nirvana because the habitual pattern of living is to expect something, to be something, and so on. So a lot of people from Buddhist background thinks to be in nirvana, and most of them think that it is a place. Now, fortunately, a lot of lay people know what nirvana is, at least theoretically. It is not a place, it is not another existence, it is not a super state where you get all kind of things you want. No, it is a total ending of life and the cycle of life and everything. The famous simile given in the Tripitaka by the Buddha is the extinction of the flame of a candle. Right? So we have a candle behind us, and if we blow it out, where the flame goes? There is no correct answer for that. Scientifically, we could say that the wind blows and the flame goes, blows out and goes out, but we cannot pinpoint where the flame goes. So the one who attains to nirvana still may maintain his whole life until the total passing away. After passing away, he is not going to reborn. So just like the flame of the candle vanishes, the person ends his cycle of birth again. We know that the opposite of nirvana, it means the going on in this birth and death cycle happened because of not understanding the life as it is, not understanding the whole cycle of universe as it is, whole cycle of mind and body as it is. So the ignorance is playing the major part. When there is ignorance, there is craving. Craving is feeding ignorance, and ignorance always support craving to be exist. So this is how the opposite of nirvana is taking place. So nirvana is therefore understanding all these things. So people have come to an understanding now that nirvana is blowing out all kinds of possibilities for anyone to wander in this samsara. So with that, people know that Nibbāna is not existing any particular place. it is not an event too. It is not the same thing as death, right? Some people, even today, I see this, believe that Nibbāna is attained after death. And there are some famous wishes uh, may you attain nirvana. This statement is basically reiterated at death anniversary, right? We can see the notice that you may attain into nirvana. Even if you did bad in your life, there are such notices going on in the cemetery, around the place of you keep the dead body. It is a good wish. It is a good wish comparatively, because you at least think about Nibbāna, no matter what kind of understanding you have about it. But on the other hand, it seems to us that people believe the nirvana is coming to the person who died. No. Nibbāna is here and now. It is something that we could experience right now. If the right practices are there could be nirvana. So it means a blowing out. I told you that lobha, dvesa, moha, greed, hatred, and ignorance are like fires. They burn us. They kill our peace and happiness. Therefore, Buddha compare these roots of unwholesomeness into fire. So blowing them out is called nirvana. It is when akusala dies out. It is when a person is no longer attached. It is peace. It is calm. It is serenity. It is contentment. It is happiness. It is purity. There are other synonyms for Nibbāna: infinite, ananta, non-conditioned, incomparable, supreme, highest, beyond, highest refuge, parayana, safety, thana, security, kema, happiness, it's a mistake, happiness, and unique, kevala, abodeless. We have abode to live, right? So it's abodeless. When you are in nirvana, no matter where you are in so much happiness. You can even stay under a tree. You live with minimum because you don't have any attachment to anything. So, imperishable, akara, absolute, purity, visuddha, supramundane, lokuttara. Beyond this mundane system is supramundane. Then immortality, amata, one of the famous word we use for Nibbāna, amata. Mata means death. Amata means undying. You are not experience death anymore. Why? Why don't you die when you attain to nirvana? Of course, if you attain to nirvana, you have a conventional death because you are already born to this life. But after that, you don't have a birth. When there is no birth, there is no death. So what happened when we attain to nirvana? We cut off the possibility of rebirth. When there is no rebirth, there is no re-death. And in between, there are no sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, old age, sicknesses, and all kind of suffering are not there. Even if you attain to nirvana, complete nirvana right now, your mind is not agitating, frustrating over physical changes. You might be meeting with an accident and injured, getting injured, but you are not worried about that pain. Physical pain is there, but you don't have any frustration, suffering over that physical pain. Because there is no such pull in your mind to get into suffering. Because tanha, the attachment, that type of inclinations to suffering are not there. So finally, emancipation and peace, mukti. Vimukti is a word for liberation, and Nibbāna is something like that. You know what? Tripitaka gives a lot of synonym for Nibbāna. Still, with all these synonyms, it's not completely discernible. We cannot understand the concept nirvana fully with these whole words, set of words, because it is only to experience by practicing Dhamma. Where there is no craving, there is no Nibbāna. This is from the Sutta, Nibbāna Sutta from Udana. Let me read that part. There is that sphere, monks, where there is no earth, no water, no fire, no air, no sphere of infinite space, no sphere of infinite consciousness, nothingness. These are jhanic experiences. And no this world, no world beyond, neither moon, no sun. There amongst I say there is surely no coming, no going, no persisting, no passing away, no rebirth. It is quite without support, unmoving, without an object. Just this is the end of suffering. Without putting the word nirvana at the end, the Buddha called this is the end of suffering. When you end suffering completely, from that person's perception, there is no anything in this world. Why do we say that? And how can we say that? Let me give some time to explain this. For me, this is a computer. This is a temple. For me, I have friends like you, by particular names given. And I see different objects around me. I have different perception, like mother, father, and so on. There are so many concepts collected throughout living. That's how I understand the physical world, and I have created an inner world based on what I experience. Depending on the craving level, I may have pleasant feelings and unpleasant feelings about all these conceptual world. So what happened when I attain nirvana? I end all these attachment, craving, raga, greed, any lustful experiences to those sensory experiences. Then those names are only names for me. Then what I see, when I see people, when I hear sounds and so forth, they are only sounds and pictures, colors to me. Conventionally, I may say that I met my mother, I went to that country, I went to the city and so forth. I may eat food, I may name people, name things around me, but the one who attains into nirvana, without a doubt, realize they are all material things made by elements. That understanding is automatic. That understanding is destined. That understanding is perfect. So that's why one who attains into nirvana or nibbana does not see all these material and immaterial things as we see, as we perceive. So this statement is taken from Nibbāna Sutta in Udana. It continues, for the dependent there is agitation. So agitation is not without causes and condition. What do you feel when you are agitated? Restless. So let's analyze it. When we feel agitated, does it happen without a reason or with reasons?
Because of desire.
Because of desire. Because of desire in our mind, we become agitated, and there are external causes as well, right? Suppose your flight is 7 o'clock. You are at 6, you are still at home getting ready. So you know that how far the airport is from your place, and it could be rush hour, and you know the procedure of checking and security and immigration, and knowing all these things, you become agitated because time is so limited to make all these things possible. So you see the reasons why agitation is there. Even if there are reasons to agitate, to become frustrated, you don't get it if you don't have substances for agitation here, right? So therefore agitation or any unwholesomeness come into being because of causes and conditions. So for the dependent there is agitation, for the independent there is no agitation. This is a statement from of Arahant, and he made it just after his enlightenment because of the happiness. When there is no agitation, there is calm. When there is calm, there is no inclining. When there is no inclining, there is no coming and going. When there is no coming and going, there is no passing away and rebirth. When there is no passing away and rebirth, there is no here or hereafter or in between the two. Just this is the end of suffering. It's a kind of ecstasy or utter happiness of a Arahant after his enlightenment. What do we do when we are so happy? We may sing a song as we can. When you are alone and you are so happy, we should have a method of expressing it, right? We may sing a song, or we may at least do some good activities or something like that, right? We may make a telephone call to one of our friends who could listen to us, and we try to share something in a beautiful way. We do a lot of things when we are really happy. So likewise, Arahants also express their untangled happiness, life with no one sometime. We find two kinds of nirvana. First one, sopadisesa, the other one, anupadisesa. What is sopadisesa nirvana? When Nibbāna is realized in this life with the body remaining, it is called sopadisesa Nibbāna dhatu. Suppose you all practice Dhamma as it is and cut off craving, ignorance and so forth, and attain to nirvana. You are in this nirvana because you are still living. You go on Pindapata and eat food. You maintain your life and help others. You are physically you are just like other people, but your mind has been transformed 100% from mundane to supramundane. Thus, if you are in that state, that's called sopadisesa Nibbāna. Sa upadi. It means you don't have attachment, but there are form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness are there in your life. It means 5 aggregates are there, but there is no clinging for 5 aggregates. So simply Buddha, Venerable Sariputta, Moggallana, Mahakassapa, and all these great disciples stay in this nirvana elements after their attainment to full enlightenment. So what is anupadisesa? When an arahant attains parinibbāna, after the dissolution of his body without any reminder of physical existence, it is called anupadisesa nibbāna dhatu. So can we call arahants die? So you know the Pali word for dying? Marana. Marana. It's a Pali word, not a single word. It has become a single word for so long. But the Pali word is Marana. Let's take English translation for Marana, dying. Can Arahant die?
It's a Pirinivan.
Yeah, why do we use the word parinirvana instead of dying? That's what it is, but there is a particular reason for that. The word dying is always going with the word birth. And those who have ended their craving, attachment, ignorance and everything cannot get rebirth again, no rebirth. Therefore, they cannot die either. If there is a death, there is a rebirth. If there is no death, there is no rebirth. That's why an arahant cannot die. So we are talking about anupadisesa nibbāna. It means a total ending. Even the physical body is done. So when the Buddha attained to parinirvāna at the age of 80, he attained to the anupadisesa nibbāna. When other enlightened beings such as Sariputta, Moggallana, Mahakassapa, Anuruddha, they also let's say die in order to understand the concept. When they died, they attained to this second Nibbāna anupadisesa. Different views on Nibbāna. Some scholars, some later discipline try to explain the Nibbāna. Let's see some of them. From a metaphysical standpoint, Nibbāna is deliverance from suffering. Right? Yeah, of course. Suffering, the word suffering is always used to denote the physical pain. Any deterioration of the physical body and related pain is called suffering. But when it comes to mental suffering, a lot of scholars argue that the word suffering does not give the full meaning. Therefore, scholars from Buddhist background are in the opinion that the good word, the best word to explain dukkha is unsatisfactoriness. It means both physical and mental suffering or pain or whatever it is. Unsatisfactoriness. In that sensual pleasure is also a suffering. So when we use the word suffering, the English word suffering, sensual pleasure is excluded, because with the word suffering we don't mean sensual pleasure is a suffering, but unsatisfactoriness, with that word we can mean sensual pleasure is also as a suffering. From a psychological standpoint, Nibbāna is the eradication of egoism, ego. Yeah, a lot of people understand that path, that way of explanation better than the traditional way of explaining. Ego is self-view, and when there is no ego, that is called nirvana. That's a psychological explanation. From an ethical standpoint, Nibbāna is the destruction of lust, hatred, and ignorance. One of the scholars Robert, I cannot pronounce it well. Oppenheimer. He's a German. He was a German scholar, I think. A scientist writes, if we ask, for instance, whether the position of the electron remains the same, we must say no. If we ask whether the electron's position changes with time, we must say no. If we ask whether the electron is at rest, we must say no. If we ask whether it is in motion, we must say no. I don't understand what electron means, but
electron is so the atom. There's an atom, and there are electrons constantly turning. So there are electrons within us, there are electrons in this carpet. So everything has an electron.
Okay.
Traveling at different distance, different speeds, and all that too. So it's an atomic process.
Okay.
And Robert Oppenheimer is the one who created the hydrogen bomb.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Now I know what he has done. Actually, he was. Is that right? He was upset about what he discovered later on at the end of his life. Okay.
He wasn't happy. He was forced into it during the war. Americans. He was a German, but he came over to the American side, and he helped the Americans to deal with the Nazis because they thought that Nazis were building a bomb, atom bomb. So Americans built one, and he's the man who helped the Americans build it.
Okay.
But at the end, he said, when he retired from the lab, it's called the Los Alamos lab, he gave a speech and he said, I have created a monster in the name of world peace, because if we have the bomb, nobody else will fight because this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
This means that everybody will have to be a good human being now that there is a bomb. So he put the whole responsibility on humanity after creating something that can destroy us.
Okay. I see.
Same thing with Albert Einstein too, with the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, but Einstein didn't quite go to his lengths to build the bomb. Einstein could have built it, but he didn't build it. Yeah.
We have a secret Manhattan Project.
Yes, but he didn't go all the way to. Oppenheimer is the one who finally built it.
So Venerable Narada Mahathir of his book called Buddhism in Nutshell, he recorded this statement just to explain the Nibbāna. A lot of people asked the question from the Buddha what Nirvana is, and that question is always asking throughout the history. So he taking this statement from Robert, says that Nirvana is something like that, like the electron, cannot have a particular shape, position, and so forth. Nirvana could not be explained in such a way that you go there and you go here and what happened to you after the Nirvana and so forth.
Exactly.
That's what Venerable Mahathir is trying to tell.
Yes.
And we need to look at the tradition of Buddhism on the particular topic Nirvana. We have two main traditions since I think 3rd century or even beyond that, 3rd century BC, Theravada and Mahayana. The Theravada Buddhist, Nibbāna is the point at which the harmful fires of existence are at last burned out. So, from the Theravada point of view, Nirvana is extinction of the fire-like greed, hatred, and ignorance. Right? When we come to the Mahayana point of view, Nirvana is also the ultimate in self, giving love for all creatures, the Bodhisattva ideal. It means that they accept the fact that Nirvana is achievable only one is dealing with the root causes of suffering called Lobha Desha Moha. But their way of taking it by becoming Buddha to be, Bodhisattvas. So they basically stand on the fact that everybody is Bodhisattva, so Buddha to be, everybody is able to become Buddhas. But Theravada tradition emphasizes the fact that anybody can attain Nirvana, but there are other ways too. Buddhahood and the Pacceka Buddha, silent Buddha, and Shravaka Buddha, it means Arahant. So the time we take to become a self-enlightened Buddha is uncountable. It is not suitable for all human beings. And it is our effort to try hard to get into enlightenment sooner than later, because there is no guarantee that you could get it in the future if you lose your effort, if you loosely practice the Dhamma. So Buddha's advice from the Theravada Tripitaka is not to waste time and make sure to be in Nirvana. I think a lot of misunderstood areas in Buddhism where some people go wrong on this fact, because of the depth of the concept Nirvana. Some people say that Nirvana is Arahantship is not completed because it has some Arahants show that some sort of craving. That's how the Mahayana tradition breaks away. So Mahayana said the long tradition that it is incomplete, Arahantship is incomplete. That's why we try our best to be self-enlightened Buddhas. And the very word Hinayana, the identification given by Mahayana to Theravada, is because the vehicle they go with is lesser vehicle, and their results of the practice are minor and incomplete. So there is a very subtle dispute between Theravada and Mahayana, but today none of monks or lay people go and fight. But those days it happened in a peaceful way. The most misunderstanding concept, I told you about that. Some people think that Nibbāna is the birth of a different state where one enjoys all sort of happiness. To them, Nibbāna is a state to be attained after death. This is not so. Buddha not only said but also demonstrated through his own life that Nibbāna is to be realized in this very life while yet living. Now, what do you think about Nirvana? Is it easy to taste? Suppose there is an Arahant and he is not worry about anything happen to him or his relatives or family. So you or anyone who is not attained to that level becomes surprised to see that this Arahant is, we don't know whether it's Arahant or perhaps we know that this person is an Arahant. We become surprised to see that he is not reacting to anything. Even if people come and abused, he is not going to react to it. She is not going to react to it. Right? So, there was such a situation at the time of the Buddha as well. People become surprised of certain behaviors of Arahant. Let me remind you one of the happenings with regard to Venerable Sariputta. A lot of people as a group were talking about Venerable Sariputta's patient at a township, small township. And there was one person who did not like Venerable Sariputta very much. He said that, I don't believe that this Venerable Sariputta has a very strong patient. I don't believe that. He argued. Then suddenly they saw Venerable Sariputta is coming to that side with the patra, and he is in his pindapata around. Then this man who is challenging to his friend that Venerable Sariputta is not such a patient one, said that, I will show you how he is impatient today. So he went behind Venerable Sariputta and gave a big blow to Venerable Sariputta's head. This man thought that Venerable Sariputta turned around and retaliate. But Venerable Sariputta did not even turn around to see who did this. Then this man was so upset and ran in front of Venerable Sariputta and kneeled down and said, Venerable Sir, please forgive me. Then Venerable Sariputta, with a calm attitude, asked, why are you asking, pardon or whatever you asked to? What is the reason? Venerable Sir, it is me who gave you a big blow behind you. So I am so sorry. I did not know that you have such a patience that you could bear such things in your life. Please forgive me. Okay, I have given you forgiveness already. Please stand up. No. When Venerable Sariputta said that I have forgiven you already, this man felt that statement a lot. Now he is so humble and said that if you really forgive me for what I did, you better come to my house for lunch. Venerable Sariputta did not have any problem to accept it, and he went with the man to his house. Meanwhile, the other people who were in the bed spreading the news that that particular man hit Venerable Sariputta, and Venerable Sariputta is taken to home, and it's a desperate situation. So let's go with weapons and clothes and everything to punish this man. Now Venerable Sariputta is taking his meal in that man's house, and he heard some noises outside of the house. Venerable Sariputta is so wise to understand what happens, what is going to happen, and he thought that if I go alone, leaving this man at his house, he'll be experiencing a great danger. So I should give him the patra. So Venerable Sariputta gave that gave his patra to the man and asked him to follow him. So now they are Venerable Sariputta and this man. So they were going to the gate of the house, and all of the other people in the village, surrounded, and one of them said, "Venerable sir, you may go. I have something to deal with this man." What is that? Venerable Sariputta asked. Then he turned to the other people. See, Venerable Sariputta, this man hit Venerable Sariputta. Now Venerable Sariputta tells me what happened. Venerable sir, this man hit you so hard and he made you so uncomfortable in the middle of the town. So we are here to punish him. We are here to teach him a lesson. So Venerable Sariputta turned to these people, looked at around and said that, who hit to me? And who, this man. And if this man hit me, it is me who should take care of the case. It is not you. Mm-hmm. Then everybody became silent, and Venerable Sariputta said that you may go home and do whatever you want. It is between myself and this man. So if I gave the pardon for this man, why can't you give? So that's the patience of Arhants, right? So we may be able to understand the nature of Arhants or Arhantship theoretically, but we are not in full capabilities to get in because we are not in Arhantship yet. I'm not sure whether you are in that, but for me, I'm not in that Arhantship yet. So there is a story that what I like to share with you today. Finally, the story is about a fish and a turtle. Right? You know, fish is always in the water, and the turtle could come out of the water and travel on the ground, on the land. So one day the turtle disappears from the pond for a week or so and suddenly appeared. Then the fish asked, "Where were you all this time?" Then the turtle said that I went to the land and it's so beautiful. Then the fish is trying to understand what it looked like. So the fish asked question. Couple of questions. It's a long story. I'm trying to give you a summarized story of the long one. The fish asked question. It's just like water. You know, the water always change, and there are currents of the water. The land is something like that. No. Land has no water. There are winds, there are trees, and there are space. No matter what turtle said, the fish is unable to understand what the land's like. So this story is coming from the Buddhist literature that the fish is trying to compare the nature of the water with the land, but it's not matching anyway. So this story is given to us to understand that people who are not in Nirvana is trying to understand Nirvana with their own experience. What they have already experienced is seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and so forth. And we imagine that Nirvana could be like super luxurious existence in a palace with so much food, so much comfort, and all kind of beautiful things around, no pain at all, no suffering at all. Still, this a comparison within the framework of sensual pleasure. Like the fish, people may understand nirvana, but it's not something like that. The turtle has experience being in the water as well as in the ground, in the land. He sees the difference between the water and the land. The one who attained to nirvana, at least glimpse of nirvana, knows what mundane, sensual world with so much mistake, and also the world without mistakes. Yeah.
Turtle has no experience in the air yet. It's like a bird.
That's what. But there is a complete comparison between the fish. Yeah, I know. So therefore, nirvana is something we should could be experienced when you are in nirvana. So I have so many things to share, but I do not go further because it's 7:55. Open to discuss now. The topic is Nibbāna in this very life. Next time I would take into discussion how we experience Nibbāna right now and what we should focus to experience Nibbānic pleasure right now. In one discourses of Venerable Sariputta, he was questioned about the pleasure of Nibbāna. Then the Venerable Sariputta said, there is no pleasure on Nibbāna. Then why do we try to attain to it? If there is no pleasant feelings in Nibbāna, why do we try our best to get it? Then Venerable Sariputta said that Nibbāna is important because there is no pleasant feeling there. There is no unpleasant neutral feeling. Because human beings, living beings, always try to experience something new. Our habit is to get pleasant feeling, rejecting unpleasant feeling and neutral feeling. I know you are aware of the three kinds of craving: kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. Desire for sensual pleasure is called kama tanha. Desire for existence is called bhava tanha. Desire for non-existent is called vibhava tanha. So with that, we can discuss the three kinds of feelings. Sukha vedana, pleasant feeling; dukkha vedana, unpleasant feelings; and adukkam sukha vedana, neutral feelings. So all of us, if we are in the mundane world, mundane existence, travel or live in these three kinds of feeling throughout the life. But human behavior always wish to get pleasant feeling. Our intention is to be in pleasant feeling. That's why we wear enough clothes. That's why we make beautiful houses. That's why we buy beautiful cars. That's why we eat the best food available, and so forth. There is nothing wrong with that, because this life is because of good things we did. As a result of good karma, we get this life as a result. There is nothing wrong with all these facilities we get, but this is the nature. However, the reality is that unpleasantness might arise. Why? This body and all the mental culture attached to this body change from moment to moment. As a result of constant change of physical and mental substances, nature, culture, we get unpleasant feelings. When we turn into unpleasantness, our try again is to turn it to pleasantness. But it could not happen always. It could not happen always. Sometimes it turns into unhappiness again, or sometimes it automatically turns into neutral feelings. Right? So, when we move from one feeling to another and wish for good things, how can we think of something beyond all three feelings? Nibbāna is beyond these three types of feelings. That's why Venerable Sariputta told to the questioner that Nibbāna is blissful, Nibbāna is the highest, because there is no feeling in that. There is no feeling as other living beings understand. That's why Nibbāna has negative connotation always. A lot of people from the time of the Buddha to modern world understand that Nibbāna is annihilation. Nibbāna is ending all cycles. Some people even today ask, if everybody in the world attain to Nirvana, this world system collapse. It's not nice, Bhante. Suppose all the Buddhists in Sri Lanka attain to Nirvana, how could Sinhala race continue? Such questions, yeah, such questions are always in the discussion. That is because they don't understand what Nirvana is, and it's something impossible, right? Even the Buddha could not make others, understandable about the life. How could we, all of us, do that today? So, and what we need to understand if we want to attain Nirvana, this very life, Nibbāna in this very life becomes a reality if we understand this very life right now. So how we create negative qualities by the way of using six senses. And if we are mindful about the way we use senses, at the very outset of negative force, we cut it. And at the same time, we will develop the positive. The negative aspect of our mind could be totally stopped by cultivating the positive. Seeing the negativity as negativity is a positive energy. So that's one of the ways to begin the journey to Nirvana. There are other ways. So we are going to discuss all these negative side and positive side of the Dhamma, and how one go into the other side of Nirvana and how one go to the Nirvana. For your interest, I would say that Nibbāna has different phases, and some phases are achievable with basic practices such as Sila, Samadhi and so forth. They are called jhana. Jhanic experiences are the visible results of Nibbāna right now. If we are able to temporarily suppress the five hindrances, you are in the first jhana, then you move on to second jhana with necessary things you could further do, and all these states you experience Nibbāna, because there is no sensual pleasure there, but there is an enormous subtle happiness there. So we are going to talk about the 9 stages of jhana in order to see what Nibbāna is. Okay, that's the end of today's class. I hope you strengthen your wish to attain to Nibbāna, because Nibbāna is the goal of our life. So wishing you good health and peace of mind for that purpose, we end today's class. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.